Okay, hi, and welcome to the Week 2 online office hour for IS 285. Um, my online office hour started several minutes ago, and up to this point, no one has joined. So at this point, I'll just kind of decide as we go along what to look at and go over and talk about. And if anyone does join in the next 30-40 minutes, I'll take the time to stop and answer any questions or anything, if there are any. And but other than that, we'll just get going here. First of all, I want to mention that out of everyone who submitted the Unit 1 assignment last week, everyone did a great job following the assignment directions and turning in what you needed to, and that's great. So we definitely want to keep that up. Again, I look at your screenshots, and but then I also, on occasion, sometimes look at your packet tracer files too, especially if you didn't get a perfect 100, a perfect score on the lab activity. Usually I'll go in and take a look and see what it is that you did wrong. Sometimes it's kind of obvious from the screenshot. Maybe you just forgot to configure an enable secret password, or maybe you've configured the password to be something other than what the instructions said. That kind of thing. Pretty simple to diagnose, but when we get into more complicated configurations, it may not be quite that obvious, and I may need to go in and take a look at your configuration. And there are occasions where Packet Tracer may have marked you wrong because you did one part of some configuration incorrectly, and so it doesn't give you credit for any part of that configuration. And so sometimes I go in and I look at that and I see, oh well, you had almost all of it. Here's this is one little thing you missed or did wrong, and I'll sometimes adjust your grade based on that. So anyway, just keep up the good work there as far as following assignment instructions and making sure you submit your screenshots along with your completed packet tracer activity files, and this makes life a lot easier on both of us. This week, of course, you're working on the Unit 2-1 or Assignment 1, and as I kind of pointed out last week, we took a really brief look at this assignment. It starts out the same way as last week's assignment, and mentioning the Word document that you need to create that you'll use to put your screenshots in. I don't think there are any questions to answer. I don't think there are any questions assigned, so it's just going to be your screenshots this week in your Word document, I believe. But we'll see that for sure as we go through everything here. So the first one, I guess I should say the second step here is download and complete the Packet Tracer Labs on slides 465 and 471. So these are, just regular Packet Tracer activity files, lab files. Be sure to save your files, and then get your screenshots as assigned, as it mentions here, and submit both your screenshots and your completed lab files. Let's take a look at this real quick. Lab 465. In Chapter 4, we're looking at the physical layer of the OSI model, which much of this should be review for you at this point. You should, from previous courses, you should, and then now with what you go through here, you should really have a good handle on the OSI model by the time we finish going through these. You should have a pretty good handle on it coming into this course, but anyways, 465 is what we're looking at. So let's go and take a look at this. Okay, so our lab here is just to view wired and wireless NIC information, and so it's a pretty simple and quick lab. But you'll just click here to open up the packet tracer activity file. Oh, hold on, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry, 465 is what we need to be looking at. This is connect, and we'll get into this one here in a sec. Well, actually, we don't cover that one, do we? It was 465. No, I did not assign that one. That's fine. If you do this lab, this is not packet tracer, and you probably should do this lab on your own, just to kind of go through it and learn what's covered here. But this is not packet tracer. This lab here is what we need to be looking at, 465. That's the first one that's assigned here. In this lab, you're connecting to both wired and wireless LAN, so you'll click and download the packet tracer file and just follow the instructions and complete that that lab activity. This is the addressing table for the lab activity. So generally there's two kind of really important components to each lab, initially when you first get started. And the first is typically a topology, which this lab doesn't actually provide, but that's in the instructions here, but that's fine. The topology is already created for you in Packet Tracer. But the second most important item is usually the addressing table, because this kind of gives you the rundown of your different networks and subnets and how things are broken up, and if there's any IP addressing you have to configure, generally that information is going to be here. So anyway, this is a pretty quick lab, not a whole lot to this, and as you can see, that's it right there. So there's just 5 parts to this lab, and each part's pretty brief, so that shouldn't take you too long. Going back to the assignment, your next lab is 471, and so let's take a look at that. Okay, this is another packet tracer activity where you're exploring the physical layer, and so you'll just click here to download the packet tracer activity file. Again, remember to save your file. Probably a good idea to save it before you start working. Save it while you're working on it, a couple times, so if something happens, you don't lose your work. And then once you finish the last configuration item, then save it again, and that's what you'll upload along with a screenshot of your results and everything. So again, I think this is another pretty short lab activity. Yeah, it's mostly just checking out things and kind of seeing, where things are, how things work. Again, pretty quick lab. Looks like you're doing some tracer out. I didn't see ping anywhere, but maybe you're pinging too. But anyway, you're just doing some investigative work essentially, and so it's a little longer than what I was thinking, but still you should get through it pretty quickly. It's relatively basic stuff. A lot of stuff that you're already familiar with from previous courses, most likely. So that's the second lab there. This next step here says using Packet Tracer, complete the lab on slide 727. When you see this kind of terminology in the assignment instructions, this means that you are completing a lab that doesn't currently exist in Packet Tracer, but you're going to create it in Packet Tracer and complete it there. Normally, if you were in a traditional in-person classroom environment, you would complete this on the lab equipment there in the lab. For an online course like this, typically here at Herzing we use NetLab, and so normally for this course you would be completing this lab there, but unfortunately we don't have access to NetLab this term, so we're going to be using Packet Tracer for everything. So it's not a big deal really. NetLab is virtual just like Packet Tracer, so although with NetLab it's a virtual interface between you and real routers and switches. With Packet Tracer, obviously it's all software based, but from an experience standpoint, really not a whole lot of difference there. But anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to create this lab in Packet Tracer and complete it. So it says here, keep in mind lab instructions will not be available inside Packet Tracer for this lab. You will need to download the PDF version of the lab instructions from slide 727 on the Cisco Academy website. Complete the lab according to those instructions. Also, you will get the Packet Tracer file from Canvas, not the Cisco Academy. Let me double check that real quick. Is that file there? Let's see what's in here. Yes, it is. So it's there ready for you. And all this is a lab that, when I created this, when I designed the course, I created this, I just opened up Packet Tracer and just added the devices that are needed for this lab and cabled them, and that was it. So at that point, you just kind of pick up with the configurations and go. So so that's all that is. So again, you'll just follow the instructions. And so let's take a look at this real quick. Chapter 7, of course, is on Ethernet. And I'm sorry, I lost track here. 727. Okay, so here's the lab. It's viewing network devices, or viewing the MAC addresses of network devices. And anyway, if we click here, not sure why they have this link here twice, but anyway, if we click here, here you'll see the topology that I already created for you in that Packet Tracer file, and here's your addressing table. And so you'll just kind of follow along and complete the configurations in each part, in each step of the lab as required. Since this is one of the first times that you're actually, well, I guess you did some basic configuration or began to look at it last week, but remember, when you first console into a switch, you have to use the enable command to get to the global configuration mode, to get into it's the first step to get into global configuration mode. And then of course the next step is configure terminal. So in this lab you're going to be configuring a host name for the S1 switch. You're going to be configuring the no IP domain dash lookup command. What this does, as it says right here, it disables DNS lookup, but if you type something that mistype something, I guess is probably the way to put it, then it won't sit there forever trying to find the device that doesn't exist. Okay, so next it has you configuring interface VLAN 1, which of course is a virtual interface. And the purpose for this and configuring an IP address on this VLAN interface is for management purposes. So obviously in the real world, in order to configure this, you would have to be consoled into the switch. So you'd have to have your laptop and a console cable between your laptop and the switch. And once you configured an IP address on the management VLAN for this switch, at that point you could then disconnect from the console connection and connect to it via IP. And so that's the purpose for this. And so, here next they have you actually verifying that you can ping the switch from the computer. And as long as you configure everything up, complete all these configurations up here correctly, then you'll get the expected results there. Okay, and then the rest of the lab, you're just kind of taking a look at MAC addresses and focusing on, on those. Here they have you specifically looking at the MAC address for the F06 interface, and here they've got you using the show ARP command to view the layer 2 mappings, from the layer 2 MAC address to layer 3 IP address. And that's about it. So not an extremely long lab there, but an important one. A lot of basics there for you to learn. So anyway, with this type of lab, you'll just save it when you're done and upload the completed file. And of course you won't include any screenshots for this lab because it's not a packet tracer based lab, so you're not going to see any kind of assessment data there. You just have to finish the assigned lab and then upload the completed file. Okay, notice I got the same deal going on here for 737, where you're going to be using Packet Tracer to create and complete a lab. For this one, I did not create the Packet Tracer file, with the topology for you. You'll just open up Packet Tracer and add the devices that are necessary to create that yourself. And if we take a look at 737, here's your topology. So what you'll do is you'll open up Packet Tracer, you'll add two 2960, I believe they are, switches, and 2 computers. You'll cable them. Of course, these are just regular patch cables, straight through cables. Here's your addressing table. Notice that all the devices are on the same subnet, and we know that because our subnet mask is /24. That's what this is, 255.255.255.0. That's /24, and you should know that from your work with binary. And so anyway, it's /24, which means that the first 3 octets signify the network that the device is on. So you can see all these devices are on the same 192.168.1.0 subnet. So, and once you've got your topology created, you can configure your device IP addresses, and you can probably knock out the PCs first, and then I guess down here they'll have you. They'll walk you through the configuration. Actually, this time they don't give you the steps, so it just tells you to configure the IP addresses listed in the table, so that's good. And then in part 2 of the lab, you're going to be taking a look at the switch MAC address table. So and that's pretty much it. There's 4 steps in part 2, but anyway, that's it. So of course you'll save your packet tracer file once you're completed, and you'll just upload that file. Again, there will be no screenshot for this one because this is not a packet tracer based activity. Okay, and so that's it. So once you're done with those, you'll upload your completed Word document to Canvas. That Word document will contain screenshots for these 2 labs here, and that's it. You will also upload your completed packet tracer files for, hold on, let's see, this one here. Oh yes, that's right. You will not upload the packet tracer file for this assignment, just paste the screenshots mentioned above. You have some screenshots in here you have to do, so there'll be, in addition to these, the screenshots for these 2, you'll have some screenshots here that you're required to get, and that's it for that. So you only have 3 packet tracer files that you'll be uploading, and it's these 3 here. Okay, so total you should be uploading 1 Word document and 3 completed packet tracer activity files. Let's see. Okay, so this week you're covering modules 4 through 7 in the Cisco Academy. While your labs focus on 4 and 7, you actually are assigned 4, 5, 6, and 7 for this week. There just aren't any labs related to 5 and 6. But your test, your exam for this week will cover all 4 of those chapters, and so you'll want to make sure that you've gone through those materials so that you're ready for that quiz. Let's see. Again, much of this is review for you. Really, I mean, it probably does go into some detail beyond what you may have learned coming into this course, but all of these, just about all these topics should have been, should be familiar to you at this point. The binary number system, hexadecimal, and of course the data link layer, and then Ethernet itself, which is of course the primary layer 2 technology that we use in the LAN environment. So anyway, again, you should be familiar with a lot of this. You'll just like I say, you'll just get into maybe a little more detail in this course than you may have done in previous courses. But that's it. So again, a lot of topics here that you're already familiar with before coming into this course. So I don't think you'll have to do a whole lot in terms of research or anything, in other words, I don't think you'll have any real problems with any of these topics this week. They're all fairly basic to networking, and they're again topics that you've covered in previous courses. So anyway, that's about it, I guess. You have your Unit 2-1 assignment this week. You have the exam assignment. Of course, you have your weekly discussion, and that is pretty much it. So I think at this point I'm gonna cut off the video. No one has come in for to join us here with the online office hour, which again is fine. But since no one's here, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. Of course, by the time you watch this video, obviously my office hour will have passed. But just keep in mind that even though this video is only going to end up being, I guess, just short of a little short of 30 minutes, I will be available for the full hour. So if anyone does happen to come into the meeting room, my Zoom meeting room, or call me, I will be available for the entire hour. So keep that in mind each week. I am always available for the entire hour, even though the video won't be that long. So, okay, well, have a good week. Let me know if you run into any issues or problems, or if you need any assistance with anything. And that reminds me, don't forget, we have an academic coach that's available for this course. So if you feel like this course is going to be challenging for you, I suggest that early on in the week, each week, that you schedule an appointment with the academic coach, so that you can guarantee that you're going to get an appointment that week. And if you get into the assignment and you find that you're understanding everything quite well and you really don't have any questions, that's great. You can, just let the academic coach know that you're okay this week. You don't need them, and maybe schedule an appointment for next week, and just go from there. But at least you'll have an appointment, if you need the assistance. And as we go through the course, just keep in mind these switch and router configurations are going to get more and more complicated. So just keep that in mind. But again, have a good week. I'll talk to you all later.